Hi there, you've joined a trigonometry revision video on sine and cosine rules. Let's remind ourselves of the sine rule for finding sides. We have a over sine A, b over sine B, c over sine C, although we usually only just work on this bit here. Lowercase a and b indicate sides, and uppercase a and b indicate angles. Sine rule for finding angles, it's just the upside down of what we had before. Sine A over A equals sine B over B, and once again we don't really use the third bit. So we're looking at two kind of pairs of information here. We have an x and an opposite angle, and we have a side and an opposite angle, which is a perfect scenario for using the sine rule. So x over the sine of his matching angle equals 17 over the sine of his matching angle. So that's how the sine rule works. The missing thing that you're trying to find should go the top left each time. And okay, so the next step is to get x on its own. So we'll be multiplying by sine 32 to get rid of that, and multiplying by sine 32, which kind of comes up the top here. And that's how we'll get the x on its own. And then we need our calculator to type that in carefully. 9.4. Now I like to get students to have a look at, see how appropriate their answer is, to see if they're stuffed up. 73 degrees, that angle kind of produced a side opposite it of 17 centimeters. So an angle of 32 degrees should create a side opposite it of quite a bit less. So yeah, I'm expecting a number that's smaller than 17 at least, so that makes sense there. Okay, now this is trying to use the sine rule, but we have one pair of information there, but we don't seem to have the right information here. But if you have a good look at it, we can use the 47 degrees and the 63 degrees and the idea of angle sum of a triangle equals 180, and we can just do a couple of little subtractions and find out what that angle is, and then use the sine rule. So if you think you haven't got enough information for the sine rule, don't forget angle sum of a triangle equals 180 degrees, and you might, if you've got 2 out of the 3 angles of a triangle, you've really got 3 using that rule there. So if we do finding that angle first as a method, 180 minus the 63 minus the 47 leaves us with 70 degrees, and then we can launch into, if we know that's 70 there, we can do that pairing and that pairing. So we're choosing to have the two pairs, only one of which is missing. We've put the missing bit on the top, y over sine 70, and then 5.2 over sine 47. So don't worry that you haven't got the right information there, that's fine, you can still work with that. So we get y on its own by multiplying by 70, and type that into your calculator. Alright, a bit trickier, but find the missing angle first and go from there. Okay, finding this to the nearest minute, we're finding an angle here, so we'll use the sine rule for angles. Sine A over little a equals sine B over little b. And so the missing bit here is the theta. Sine theta over his matching angle, over his matching side, sorry, equals sine 63 over his matching. So sine theta needs to be on its own now, so we're going to multiply both sides by 5. So that'll get sine theta on its own, and when you're finding an angle we have to press shift sine, don't we? So shift sine, and then we'll type in all of that bit into our calculator and we'll get an angle for our result there. 39 degrees 32 minutes. It did say to the nearest minute, so we'll look back at the question and see what format it wants it in there. So that was a bit different because we were finding an angle instead of finding a side, but it's just the opposite. Now if you concentrate on saying what thing are we looking to find, and we put that at the top left, it's almost like the question sorts itself out there. Cosine rule for finding sides is this: a squared, b squared, c squared minus 2bc cos a. All the lowercase ones are sides, of course. And so we have an angle in between two sides here, and this is the thing we're trying to find here, so it's the thing that's going to be out the front. Cosine rule suggests that we'll start with d squared equals 17.2 squared plus the other side squared minus two lots of them multiplied together. See how the 17.2 appears there and twice, really. This appears there and this appears there, so it sort of occurs twice. Once it gets squared, another time it gets multiplied. Times cos 85. So this can work when we've got two sides and the included angle, we say, and we're trying to find that third side. So we type that all into our calculator. Now be careful here. If you type all that into your calculator, you might get an answer that's quite a bit too big. You might get a huge answer. But if you do get a huge answer, you've forgotten to square root as well, because this formula has d squared out the front instead. So don't forget to square root at some stage there. Cosine rule for angles is just the rearrangement of the previous one. Cos A is out the front. Now already we can see that we might have to press Shift Cos and when we do our final calculations, and I'll talk about this bit here. One of the sides is treated specially by having a minus in front of it. You'll remember, I'm sure. Okay, there's three sides here and an angle we're trying to find. Now we consider this to be a normal everyday side and this a normal everyday side. This is a side we're going to use, and we're going to treat it specially because it's the one that's opposite the angle you're trying to find. It's in the special spot, we'd say. So the cosine rule says cos of alpha there equals 8.8 squared plus 8.6 squared. No big deal there. Now the one we're going to minus is the one that's in that special spot I was talking about. So that's where the 9.1 goes, in that special spot. They're all getting squared all over two lots of the other two sides multiplied together. So it's almost like these are normal situations here and here. Just consider this to be special. Then you get the right side in the right spot there. And you'd have to press Shift Cos and all that into your calculator carefully, and then press equals, and then round it off to the nearest degree. So your calculator does a lot of the work there for you. Okay, some reminders of sine and cosine rule there. Get to know them really well, please, and you'll have plenty of success there, I'm sure. peterblakemaths.com